Board. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 63 of the In From Japan podcast, the podcast where we talk about the latest news on Japan-developed games and other things in relation to them. Available on YouTube and in most places podcasts can be found. As always, I'm your host, Erroll Moss, and with me is my co-host, the phenomenon from Suriname, Jason Gordon.
Hey.
And we're going to do, before we get into what we've been playing, we're going to do a little housekeeping. So, just make sure to check out our Monster Week content that we've been doing. There's a Reacts video where I tried the new Godzilla vs. Kong hot sauce. Very good. Tastes a little different than I expected, but definitely not bad. There's a new Monster Hunter Rise, a premiere of In From Japan Arcade, which is basically our Let's Play series, where we actually, play games instead of just talk about them. And we have a Monster Hunter Rise video for that. And I was going to do an unboxing, but all the amiibo did not come in time because, GameStop exclusivity kind of messed that up. And then there's some other stuff coming, like a War of the Monsters video and the premiere of Kaiju Zoo we're going to talk about Godzilla vs. Kong. Although we had to kind of reschedule that a bit, so I'm not sure when that will be up, but hopefully soon. Also, just short, some short stuff before we get into the Japanese games we've been playing. I enjoyed Godzilla vs. Kong. Fun time. Also, today, on social media, I saw people talking about dating sims, and I looked up to see if a Kaiju dating sim existed, and there is one in development.
Well, there you go.
It's called Kaiju.
Okay.
It's on. I think it's on Kickstarter.
Okay.
All right. So we're
wait,
gonna
real quick. I'm interested to know. In conjunction with Monster Week, did you attempt to watch the Monster Hunter movie?
No, but I do want to do that.
Okay.
Like for Kaiju Zoo.
Okay.
I gotta work my way up to that. I'm not quite brave enough to watch that yet.
I mean, if you can watch the first American Godzilla movie, I think you can manage Monster Hunter.
1998 or 2014?
The 1998 one.
Because I haven't seen either in full yet.
You're kidding.
I'm not kidding.
Wow.
I've seen the Godzilla cartoon based on the 1998 movie. I actually own that cartoon, but
your journey through pop culture is so interesting.
Yeah, the first Godzilla movie I ever saw was the King of the the 1954 King of the Monsters, which is the American adaptation of the original.
Yeah, that's probably the first one I saw too.
Although I saw it right before I went to college, and this was before I was into kaiju stuff that much. Before I went back to my roots.
Okay.
So I'm just kind of I'm watching the old Godzilla just because I was texting a friend at the time, just because I felt like it.
Okay.
I don't know. Now you know how I am. Monsters, giant monsters, yay. Speaking of giant monsters, the Japanese games we've been playing include Monster Hunter Rise, and this is probably the first game in a while that we've both been playing.
Yeah, it's in my case, it's because I know how big of a franchise Monster Hunter is and how popular individual titles can be. So I figured this is going to be a popular one, so I might as well start at the ground floor while everything is building and see where it goes this time.
Yeah. So, have you only played World, or did you play before that?
I think I played a demo of Generations on 3DS.
That's a good one.
Maybe I played an older one. I'm not sure. But World is...
For you, had a demo as well?
Yeah, but World is my real first try in the franchise.
Yeah. So I just got to the 6-star single player quest. So that means I finished so that means I rolled credits, because the credits are after you fight the flagship monster Magnum Hollow. But that obviously doesn't mean the single player campaign is over, because there's still more stuff that's unlocked after. I like a lot of the quality of life changes. I kind of prefer the grappling hook from World to the wire bug, personally, just because it doesn't have as much limitation. Like, because wire bug you can only use like that few times, and then you have to wait for it to recharge.
I mean,
grappling hook is more based on your stamina.
I mean, I think they try to balance it out so that you don't go web swinging like Spider-Man all over the place.
Although you kind of can. With the right, with the right
but
stuff.
there's still limitations. I think they want you to stick to the tried and true methods of monster hunting as much as possible.
What I do like about the wire bug is I feel like for traversal, it's a little better than the grappling hook was, or the grappling claw, or whatever it's called. And then armor seems a little easier to make most of the time. Except for when they involve ore, because I found gathering items when you're just doing the expeditions in areas a little bit harder.
Harder because
they're more, the gathering points are more spread out because the maps are bigger.
Okay, there's that, and it's also because the screen is smaller. I assume.
Well, I'm playing on the TV.
Okay. With me, it's on my Switch in handheld mode, and you have some trouble making out the details. So
that makes sense. But you can also like pass them, especially if you're riding your Palamute and you're just going by and you're like, oh, whoops.
Yeah, that's why
and they're not marked. In older ones, they were like marked.
They're only marked if
it's
a specific mission for that.
Yeah. See, so that's what I kind of don't like about.
I mean, I don't mind as much because maybe I'm not that far into the armor crafting game yet, but I'm just enjoying seeing the sights and traversing through the world.
Also, there are other ways to get ores as well, so it's not like impossible to make certain sets of armor. It's just like a little inconvenient.
I mean, there's the merchant, right, in the Buddy Plaza or near the Buddy Plaza.
I don't know if they have all the ores. I was just referring to the Meowcenary.
And there's also that, yeah.
And then I do like the Palamute. That's fun for traversal. And chasing monsters when they run away. And I didn't know for a while about the drifting until my friend told. And not Joy-Con drift. I mean like doggy drift.
Yeah.
When where it speeds you up a little bit, that's really fun.
I'm curious. You made mention, like in the beginning of the podcast run, where you said that the changes made from generation to world weren't all to your liking. So I'm wondering, with it being a bit more streamlined and hewing closer to generations, do you still have trouble connecting that way?
So I like this better than World, but like I said, the ore and the wire bug, and the wire bug completely replacing mounting feels a little weird to me. Like I wanted them to kind of have. I wish they kind of could have had both in a way, because for the wire bug stuff. It's always when there are two monsters around, or at least usually.
You don't need two monsters to mount a monster. I mean, it's useful.
No, but it's like it's the most common way to do it. Which I love the monster fights like that, and how you get to control the monster for a little bit. But I just wish it still had the the generations and world like just mostly the generations mounting where you do like the mount and then you just go like press the button really fast and just try not to fall off. Like there's something about that just not having it just feels weird to me.
Okay. But as it stands, do you like it more than World or about as much?
The game itself, I like Rise a bit more than World. Just because it's the more traditional Monster Hunter, but adds in a lot of like improvements from World. Although it still has a few tiny issues that I can luckily overlook because there are ways to get around them. And I haven't had any like super big issues yet. Like I said, there was a Monster Hunter video where we hunt. I was joined by my friend Pandafin, and we hunted a great Rogi together, which is an easy monster, but but
I mean, it's about the experience you have with your friends that counts.
It was pretty funny. Yeah, and then I've played with some other friends because we were teaching another group of friends. We were teaching somebody how to play Monster Hunter. Oh, that's the other thing. The co-op is a lot better than World.
Okay, is it because of the connectivity being easier?
Yes. But it's funny because I was in a friend's live stream and they were trying to figure it out, and I was trying to tell them, but at the time I had forgotten how exactly to do it, and they're like, "This is harder than World." I'm like, "No, it's not that hard. It's just a little weird when you first do it." But yeah, and then you don't have to do that weird thing where if somebody hasn't seen a cutscene, you have to wait for them, or anything like that. And then you're also in the same instance, so you're all walking around the village together.
Okay,
and I really like that.
That helps,
because that's how most games should be in multiplayer. When you have that,
it depends. I'd say
there's also
Yes.
I lost my train of thought there.
That was a really quick loss of thread.
I'll move on because I wanted to move on to weapon stuff. Weapons. I felt like I haven't made weapons and armor quite as often, but I have been upgrading my armor. Right now, I'm using the Bishaten armor, which is the Bishaten is the monkey bat thing that throws fruit at you.
Well, better fruit than feces.
Well, yeah, I'm glad the Kangala isn't in this game, because that's the big fat baboon that does throw feces at you. But that's the armor I'm using, and I was using the Bishaten hammer for a while, and now I'm using the Barith hammer because it does more damage. But yeah, I haven't been making that many different armor sets. I've just been upgrading the one I have, and that's been working fine so far. I'm sure in high rank that'll change. Also, I really like the designs of a lot of the new monster armor, because the old monster ones look the same as they did before, but the new ones are brand new, and you never quite know what to expect.
I mean, they are based on yokai and more Japanese influences, so.
Yeah, except for I'm not wearing I am wearing the Bishaten helmet, but I'm using the Magnamalo layered helmet over it, because I don't like the helmets that show the face, and my guy's face looks pretty generic, so I'd rather have a helmet.
You had the option to create your own face, and yet you still don't like it.
I tried.
Okay.
It took me a long time, and I didn't get it quite right, and I'm just like, that's fine. I've been in here for like 30 minutes. I gotta go make my dog. And then I also like how there are all these side quests you can do, or side quests and sub quests to unlock extra stuff, and you don't have to have them they're not on the quest maidens list. You just go around the village talking to people, and it's like, hey, can you collect these for me? And sometimes you might already have those things and be like, oh, here you go, and then you get a new weapon design from that or something.
Yeah.
Or some extra items.
Yeah. That's how I unlocked my first Palamute armor. So just by progressing through the game, you have villagers say to you, "Hey, come help me out," and that unlocks other things. So yeah, it's a nice loop of systems.
My buddies have been getting armor upgrades more often than I do.
Well, I'm still like star level, like level 2, so I don't feel the need to upgrade just yet. The only thing I do
you don't need to.
The only thing I do upgrade are the weapons I have. So I'm now on sword and shield because that's a bit stronger than the dual blades I had previously, and I kind of like the fast playing weapons more than the slow hulking damage dealers. I mean, doing massive damage to your enemy is
as a hammer main, I'm personally offended. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, it's advantageous, but I don't like the loss of mobility, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get that. I get kind of frustrated when there's a particularly slippery monster, like the Mitsuzune or the Almudron. But I always get it done. And then my secondary are the dual blades, and I just this morning I unlocked dual blades that are dango sticks.
Wow, that's hilarious.
And there's also a teddy bear hammer that I now have the design for. I don't know the materials for it. I think it might have been in other Monster Hunter games before, but I'm not sure. I wonder if they had to put the frying pan hammer back in too. I'll have to check later. Cause there's a frying in Generations. There's a frying pan hammer, a fork and knife dual blades, and I want to say there was one that was like a giant fork. One weapon that was like a giant fork, or
so kind of like gag weapons.
Yeah, they're like gag weapons, but only visually, because they're still, they can still be used as viable weapons. Yeah. Speaking of which, I was wondering if once you have strong enough weapons for them, if the Palamute riding the Palamute would be a viable option as your weapon. But then it seems like their damage never increases that much. So I don't think that would be. Because I've upgraded my Palamute's weapon a couple times, and it still does kind of around the same amount of damage. So it might just have a set thing. Okay. Although it has helped me take down a few monsters in a pinch, just when I'm like, I'll be running, and then like the monster will be almost down, and I'll have to heal real quick, and then it'll be like, oh, you got it, or the dog got it. All right.
Do you think they're like worthy additions to the gameplay, like your buddies? I mean, your Palico came along.
The dog? Yeah. Palico has always been there. Well, not always, but yeah, Palamutes are great.
I mean, especially for traversal, because they don't eat up that much stamina.
I thought they didn't eat up stamina at all.
They do a bit, but it's negligible.
I haven't noticed. And then the other thing is sometimes I don't like when and this is just a Final Fantasy 14, like my same problem with the maps, and there are different levels sometimes. Not in the same way there are in like World, which is nice. But like you'll see like where a monster is, and you'll go to it, and then it'll be like on top of you, and either you try to wire bug your way up there, which I've found kind of hard, or you just have to kind of go around and find the path up, and that can be a little annoying. But once you know the map, it's not too bad.
I mean, it's kind of tricky to get a feel for things, but once you do manage to know your way around the area and with your wire bug, it becomes kind of seamless.
I kind of would recommend this over World, possibly. I'm not quite sure about that yet.
I'd say they're about the same to me. I have to admit I am a bit of a newer Monster Hunter player, so they do strike me as the most accessible the series has been so far.
Mm-hmm.
So if you do want to play a Monster Hunter game, you could play World now with Iceborne. It has a ton of content, or you can wait.
I still need to finish it.
Or you can wait till next year when Rise comes to PC if you don't have a Switch. And
is it not supposed to be until next year? I thought it was just later this year.
It's early next year. Let me double check for you. Because if I'm not mistaken, it's it was supposed to be 6 months exclusivity, but at the very least. But let's see, Monster Hunter Rise PC.
Well, that would still be this year.
No, that's what I said. It was supposed to be at least 6 months exclusivity, but the official deal is a bit stretched out. I thought. Yeah. Okay. Release date should be. Early 2022.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then one last thing is some of the other quality of life improvements, like how you can heal, or you can use a lot of items while riding your dog while you're chasing a monster.
Mm-hmm.
And then the fact that you don't need hot drinks and cold drinks anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So again, that was pretty annoying in the past games.
Yeah.
And what was the other? There was one more thing. Oh yeah, the whetstone, the infinite whetstone use.
That's
back
pretty
from
handy.
World.
Yeah.
Because when I went back to Generations, I was like, oh yeah, I need to buy more whetstones. I forgot that you have to do that in this game.
Yeah, and here it kind of makes sense to me, because it would be frustrating that if you were in a pinch and you only had one whetstone left and so much fighting left to do, it would be really frustrating.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not impossible to play, but you have a severely larger hurdle to overcome.
Pretty funny, as a hammer main, my guy, he sharpens the handle. And I'm like, wait.
I mean, that checks out.
I guess if you have a better grip, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, so moving on to the... Oh, wait, no, not moving on. You have one more game you've been playing a little bit.
Yeah, so I have been playing, as you, Monster Hunter Rise. I like it so far. Haven't had the time to put a ton into it because, work, personal stuff. But I'm enjoying it so far. Slowly chipping away at the single player content until I feel ready enough to tackle multiplayer. And besides that, I have been steadily making progress in Final Fantasy XIV. I'm now done with Heaven's Ward, doing the patch quests, and I should be doing Stormblood pretty soon then, I think, because patch quests can be lengthy. I don't see the point of them sometimes, but on the other hand, I do get where they have like this extended epilogue to ease you into the next story, which is a good thing in other respects. So there is that.
So now moving on to the In From Japan J list with recent video game related entertainment news. We got a whole group of tokusatsu news this week. So first we have Toei to release first 2 episodes of 30 Kamen Rider series online. This is by Joshua Saucedo for Tokusatsu Network. To commemorate the 50th anniversary of the birth of Kamen Rider, Toei has decided to distribute the first 2 episodes of 30 TV series from 1971's Kamen Rider to 2019's Kamen Rider 01 free of charge. The Toei Tokusatsu YouTube official channel will upload the premiere episode of these 30 TV series spanning the Showa, Heisei, and Reiwa eras starting at midnight April 1st, 2021. As of this post, the episodes are region locked. So it says that, but the ones they've uploaded so far have not been region locked and have English subtitles. So let's hope these other ones will be the same.
I mean, maybe they're trying to lure you in and then unlock everything, saying, "Hey, now that we have your attention, why not subscribe
to the YouTube channel?"
Yeah.
I mean, they're not going to have all the episodes. I really hope it means we get some official releases of these full series. They also uploaded recently the 2 more standalone Kamen Rider movies. Kamen Rider Zeo, well, I guess they're not technically standalone. They're connected. One's technically a sequel to the other, but they're also not.
I mean, aren't they all connected in some respects?
Them. I mean, kind of, but also not really, because Shin Kamen Rider is definitely not. Kamen Rider Zeo and Kamen Rider J. I'm wondering if they'll hopefully soon release Kamen Rider the First and Kamen Rider Next, which are the first. The first is a retelling of the original Kamen Rider series that I think was made. The movie was made around 2004, and the next is the sequel.
Okay.
Then we have Kamen Rider 50th Anniversary Project begins countdown to April 3rd. This is from Mikikazu Komatsu at Crunchyroll. Today, just before the 50th anniversary of the birth of Toei's Kamen Rider franchise on April 3rd, 2021, 3 countdown timers suddenly appeared on the Kamen Rider website along with the logo for the 50th Anniversary Project. The first episode of the first Kamen Rider TV series was aired in Japan on April 3rd, 1971, and its latest 31st installment, Kamen Rider Saber, has been airing since September 2020. The Tokusatsu hero franchise has been loved by children and adults around the world for half a century. The 3 countdown timers, Project 1, Project 2, and Project 3, are set to a time approximately 140 to 150 hours from now, well, when the article was written, which means they'll be revealed on April 3rd. Then, moving on from Kamen Rider, we have SSSS Dynazenon reveals new promo and visual at Anime Japan.
Real quick.
This is once again... What? No.
Is it required to name all the S's? Or can you not just say Dynazenon?
Dynazenon? I guess you could say Dynazenon. I guess it's different than Gridman because there's no series called Dynazenon besides this
That
one.
is true. But I mean, right.
For this one, it makes more sense.
Just for your ease.
Yeah. Super Riot Productions and Trigger are at it again after the success of Gridman. With the upcoming Dynazenon, the new series kicks off in Japan on April 2nd, and this weekend's Anime Japan 2021 event came through with a 3rd promo and new key visual for the anime. The promo includes a sample of the opening theme song Imperfect by Masayoshi Oishi. We don't know, there's still no confirmation of this, if or when this series will air on Crunchyroll or Funimation, but I hopefully will find out soon.
Wait, it's not clear?
No. They have the news on Crunchyroll. It doesn't say it'll be on Crunchyroll.
I mean...
also, just for your enjoyment, here's the visual.
I mean, given success with the previous show, I'd say that it's kind of a shoo-in for Crunchyroll / Funimation.
And given that Funimation and Crunchyroll are both owned by the same company now.
Yeah, that's true.
Another thing has to do with Subaraya. Ultraman Trigger has been teased once again, who is possibly the son of Ultraman Tiga, which was the first Ultraman I was exposed to. Very good video that I put on recommended content last week was the Vintage Henshin video about how the rights to Ultraman Tiga or footage to Ultraman Tiga is weird because of the fact that the actor who plays Daigo, the main character who turns into Ultraman Tiga, he's part of the Japanese boy band V6, who have done a couple Inuyasha a handful of different anime openings, and their talent agency called Johnny's is known for kind of shady business practices and stuff, and not really being with the time. So there's been a lot of complications with that. So it'll be interesting, but he was like in a commercial for an Ultramantiga figure rather recently, so like it'll be interesting to see if they can actually get the full rights to using Ultramantiga or what they're going to be doing or how it's connected exactly.
Okay.
And then lastly, Pacific Rim the Black getting second season.
I've only seen the first episode, so I can't say if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
I put the wrong link, but that's all I needed to. There's no other information except for it was greenlighted for a second season.
Are you looking forward to a second season?
Yeah, I liked the first season because animation aside, I like some of the concepts and the fact that it tells a kind of smaller scale story, at least for now.
What didn't you like about the animation?
Oh, just that CG style of animation. I don't like that much. But it's not it's not 2016 Berserk. So.
I mean, it's not X-Arm, which is miles and miles worse than Berserk.
Or that.
So you should be fine.
It's worse.
Yeah, you have not seen
There's
X-Arm?
no way it's worse. I've seen a little bit, but I didn't think it looked worse than Berserk, 2016 Berserk.
You don't think X-Arm looks worse than Berserk? That's.
I didn't see that much of it. I saw a very short clip of it in probably like a Mother's Basement video. But
I'll send you the trailer. It's some high quality trolling on Crunchyroll's part, I think. Yeah.
I want to try that Onyx Equinox show on Crunchyroll because that looks like really good Crunchyroll original content that's not getting that much attention.
Yeah, it looks interesting enough.
Okay, so moving on to recommended content that we'll have listed links in the description and the paste bin. The AA Team, Godzilla Save the Earth was the best kaiju game we've ever seen by Henry Stockdale for Eurogamer. Nier Replicant is the revamp needed to retell its emotional story by the senpai Michael Higham over at GameSpot. 1 year later, how the pandemic has affected the video game industry by Imran Khan over at Fanbyte. Mistwalker doesn't want to remaster Lost Odyssey, and that makes me sad by Ash Parrish for Kotaku. What about Blue Dragon? Can I get an article on if they want to remaster Blue Dragon?
I mean, it extends to Blue Dragon since Mistwalker has no plans to remaster or remake any of their past games.
Well, backwards compatibility on Xbox is a thing.
Sure,
at least.
But to kind of add a bit of clarification, it's not that they don't want to, it's that they are kind of strapped for resources, and Sakaguchi would, if he has still some limited time in the games industry, he would rather work on newer stuff. Yeah,
that makes sense. Interview, SNK versus Capcom devs talk about preserving and porting classics by Joel Couture over at Siliconera. Interview, preparing Persona 5 Strikers and maintaining its atmosphere by Siliconera staff. Interview, Pioneers of Olive Town and encouraging a pioneering spirit by Jenny Latta over at Siliconera. A closer peek into the Legend of Dragoon community, upscale project and more actively underway. Don't know why I put the Legend of Dragoon is a. Wait, who made Legend of Dragoon?
Sony.
This is by Stephanie Miner for the Gamer.
Japan Studios made Legend of Dragoon.
Okay.
Why were you confused?
No, I just forgot. Okay. Now it's time for the news rundown, and we got a handful of bad-ish news. So we'll let the bearer of bad-ish news, our Shinigami, take it away.
Bankai. First up, we have the worst news so far of the year. I mean, your mileage may vary, but so far it's the worst to me. PS3, PSP, and Vita titles no longer available to purchase through PlayStation Web Store. This is by Kazuma Hashimoto for Siliconera. The PlayStation Store webpage that once allowed consumers to purchase PS3, PSP, and PlayStation Vita titles is no longer accessible. Instead, the webpage now redirects users to the current version of the PlayStation Store. This information was shared through a Resetera forum, which had members of the website confirm that the store was no longer available through browsers. Shout out to Resetera. On March 27th, 2021, the reports came in from Resetera where many users took to the forum to discuss whether or not the link to the previous store was still accessible through browsers. The website remains inaccessible to in Europe, Japan, and North America. Members also reported that the PlayStation Store on console crashes or remains incredibly sluggish. Last bit. However, users are still able to purchase PS3 titles through the PlayStation Store, available on the console itself. And in October 2020, it was reported that Sony would no longer allow users to purchase PS3, PSP, and PlayStation Vita titles outside the in-console store. That being said, the change hadn't taken effect until recently. So yeah, there's that. If you follow me on Twitter, I recently shared a video by Good Vibes Gaming. Let's see if I have the channel name correct. Where is it? Yeah, Good Vibes Gaming. Which is a channel made by Game Explain people. And I'm also working.
You mind if I change the order of something? I'm going to put the other Sony story right after that.
It's a list of about 44 games to consider buying, which I highly recommend you watch. A lot of hidden gems, a lot of JRPGs and platformers that would be lost to time otherwise, to consider buying in the coming weeks or months. I'm also working on my own list, and I have a Google Sheet with all the titles that look interesting to me, but I'll have a curated list of 10 recommendations for you soon. Okay, next up is
Puppeteer.
Puppeteer's on the PS3. I can't view the PS3 store. I don't own a PS3, so your mileage may vary.
Yeah.
I mean, do I have it? Was it available on PlayStation Plus?
Was it? I think at some point I feel like it was.
It should be. I don't know. I should double check that another time. Okay, next up is Sony Japan Studio restructure leads to mass exodus of developers. This is by Matt T.M. Kim for IGN. Sony Japan Studios' ongoing restructure has led to a mass exodus of developers behind key PlayStation titles like Demon's Souls on PS5, Gravity Rush, Bloodborne, The Last Guardian, and more. In February, Sony confirmed that PlayStation's Japan studio will be reorganized around Team Asobi, the development unit behind Astro's Playroom. First-party development elsewhere in the studio will likely cease or be scaled back, and other departments such as localization, external production, and IP management will shift to PlayStation Studios. Since this news, several key members of Japan Studio have announced their departures from the company. Demon's Souls PS5 director Gavin Moore announced today he is leaving Sony after 24 years with the company. Alongside him is also former executive producer Yasutaka Asukura, who has credits on Gravity Rush, Bloodborne, and Shadow of Colossus. Brendan Pritchard, who served as global relations on The Last Guardian, and Gravity Rush designer Shunsuke Saito, and senior producer Kentaro Motomura. So yeah, that's a pretty heavy brain drain Sony is experiencing at the moment, but yeah,
it's I don't know what's going on over there, but it's a little weird. Well, the one guy that was recent, he was there for 24 years anyway, so that's kind of like, well, he was there for a long time.
I mean, Sony does say that it's working on strengthening games from Japan or supporting games from Japan, but the moves they've made so far, from shifting their corporate headquarters to the West, from having leadership primarily be from the West, and closing down the legacy stores kind of highlights their move more towards modern, action-focused, open-world, third-person games that are cater to a Western audience.
Look, I love my PS5, but Xbox is really beating them at that backwards compatibility and could in the future even beat them at Japanese support in the next few years. Japanese game support. We'll see.
Fingers crossed. I mean, I don't
It's
hope.
so interesting to see.
I don't hope Microsoft beats them, but I do hope.
I hope there's more competition with that. In that aspect.
I don't need competition per se, but I do want them to support the developers from Japan.
Yes. It's so interesting to see like Scarlet Nexus get that big push from Xbox.
Yeah.
Specifically.
I mean, Microsoft,
as well as Tales of Arise.
Yeah, Microsoft has a lot of ground to reclaim. Well, they didn't have that much to start with, but as we mentioned, I think 2 podcasts ago, with xCloud, with Game Pass, they're set to reach a wider audience that they previously could not tap. So Japan being more mobile focused these days, it kind of makes sense that they are positioned to have a very strong generation there. Next up is Dead or Alive series director Yohei Shimbori leaves Koei Tecmo. This is by Sal Romano for Gamatsu. Yohei Shimbori has left Koei Tecmo, he announced. And he is quoted as saying, "As of today, I have left Koei Tecmo Games," Shimbori said in a tweet. "I worked on Dead or Alive for 16 years, and while there were many times, were times I was pleased, there were also times I was unable to live up to expectations. I would like to take this opportunity to express my utmost gratitude to the many people who have supported and taken care of me. Thank you very much." You can see his gameography in the article, which is DOA Ultimate, DOA 4, Extreme 2, Paradise Dimensions, DOA 5, Ultimate Last Round, and DOA 6. So that's a pretty...
I'm not really a DOA fan or anything, but I thought it might have been important.
DOA is definitely a good fighting game. I mean, it's very fluid and flexible.
What about when they play volleyball? No,
I played the Xbox one. It's a thing. It's a game.
It's a thing. It's a game.
I mean,
it's not good.
If you want to ogle scantily clad women, I guess it's there. But if I'm not mistaken, it also has like solid volleyball mechanics. So at least there's that.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
That I've never heard. I've always heard those games are just like have terrible gameplay.
I mean, it's not gonna knock everything out of the park, and you don't hear people clamoring for a new release these days. So I think that says enough.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Next up,
we don't need that. When are we getting like a console Haikyuu game?
When are we getting a console Haikyuu game?
Like the Captain Tsubasa one.
I mean, the thing is, I'm kind of mixed on that, because volleyball is so much about the fundamentals being there, and you can't do that many flashy things as soccer or football or basketball. I assume, because I don't have that much experience with volleyball.
You never know.
But having it being a game, I kind of fail to see how they could strike a good mix of the flashy and the fundamental. But I mean, I could be wrong. It could end up being a massively excellent game. So,
look, if the Grand Blue developers can make a relatively successful horse racing waifu game, I think a Haikyuu console game is possible by somebody.
I mean, yeah, apples and oranges, but we'll see.
I mean, flashy sport, I don't know.
Next up is PAX East 2020.
Is horse racing a sport? I don't know.
PAX East 2021 cancelled. PAX Online 2021 set for July 15th to 18th. This is by Sal Romano for Komatsu. ReedPop and Penny Arcade have cancelled PAX East 2021, previously planned to run from June 3rd to 6th at the Boston Convention Center, and announced that the digital-only event PAX Online 2021 will run in its stead from July 15th to 18th. PAX East will return to Boston in 2022, and show organizers are optimistic that PAX West and PAX Unplugged will be run in person as planned from September to the 6th. And December 10th to 12th, respectively. Listen.
I don't know if that's going to say...
Listen. People organizing conventions. Don't.
Well, the thing is, they have to do, because they don't... Because they're losing money.
Oh, I know they're losing money, but the alternative is a lot of dead bodies, so...
So they plan ahead. Well, hopefully by PAX West, we won't have to worry about that.
I mean,
so much.
I'd say to all the convention organizers, cancel everything until you have some sense of normalcy. That's just me.
That's kind of why they put. I mean, that's why they put Comic-Con in on Thanksgiving weekend, which is a lot of people say is a bad idea. But yeah. I know a lot of people who, because of how crowded it might be because of travel. Yeah.
It's
being a person who lives in that area, I don't mind because one, I'm not going anywhere. But two, a lot of people don't celebrate Thanksgiving these days.
Sure, but
two, there are a lot of people.
You don't have to celebrate it, but it's usually in the spirit of being together with family.
That's true, and it's hard when, and I get the people saying it's hard when a lot of people haven't seen their family in over a year.
Yeah, that's true. So while visitors might have no problem going on Thanksgiving, event staff who'd rather be with their families,
event staff
would have to be working on that point. At that point,
so I don't know why they didn't just because why would they should have just done the online thing again. But I guess again losing money because that's free, and you don't really make money from that.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how it packs out through the year. Next up,
there was also, just real quick, while we're talking about events, there was also that rumor that E3 would be online and behind a paywall, and then the ESA said no, it's still gonna be free.
It wasn't.
That was earlier
necessarily
today.
A rumor, but I think it was Video Game Chronicle who said that.
Yeah.
The ESA was exploring paid access content, and then
but there was a lot of backlash.
Yeah, and that the ESA replied with, "No, it's gonna be free because, they're not the most popular kids around these days.
Especially because if it was a digital event you had to sign up for." Mm-hmm. A lot of press and influencers and stuff don't really trust the ESA with any of their personal information anymore after that leak a couple years back.
Yeah, there's also that. So maybe rethink every move from now on.
I want conventions to come back, and they will, but just gotta, keep your... Play it by ear, all right? Don't expect...
We'll see how
But don't,
We'll see where the year carries us. Okay, next up...
A lot of people getting vaccinated in the U.S. at least, so that's good.
Next up is Analogue Pocket delayed, and the Suez Canal boat may be partially to blame.
Okay.
Yes?
It never gets any easier. I'm very sad about this.
This is by Rebecca Valentine for IGN. If you were eagerly awaiting the receipt of a modernized Game Boy with which to play your ancient copy of Wario Land 4, you will unfortunately have to wait a bit longer, as the Analogue Pocket has been delayed into October. And the boat that got stuck in the Suez Canal might be partially responsible. In an announcement today, Analogue apologized for the delay and cited two very specific issues. The first was an ongoing shortage of electronic components, an issue that's been prevalent due to COVID-19 causing manufacturing delays globally, and which is impacting numerous industries, not just games. But the second reason cited was logistical issues that Analogue did not elaborate on in its post, except to link to this Forbes article. You can click on the article for Forbes article, specifically about how the Ever Given 1,300-ton boat that blocked the Suez Canal for 6 days last week and blocked the passage of over 370 ships during that time was impacting global supply chains. Granted, many of the supply chains issues cited there have been ongoing for some time. The Ever Given's blockage caused a tremendous delay, with impacts that the article posits may ripple across the next 4 to 8 months, meaning that the Ever Given's presence in the canal is probably at least partially responsible for everyone having to wait on their pockets. Yep.
What? Like, did somebody turn? I haven't read that much about this story or the canal thing, but did somebody just like turn the wrong way and it got stuck? Or
driving a container ship is not easy.
And not easy. Probably not easy through such a narrow.
Yeah. So there's
space.
that. So yeah, there is that. Okay. Next to the good news.
Going to in other news.
Tales of Series best-selling games announced worldwide: Japan / Asia, North America, and Europe. This is by Sal Romano for Gamatsu. Bandai Namco has announced the best-selling Tales of Series games worldwide and in Japan and Asia, North America, and Europe. The data follows as below. Worldwide best-selling game. I'm just going to name the top 3. Symphonia, Vesperia, and Destiny. That's worldwide the top 3. With Symphonia at 2.4 million units. Vesperia a little bit under that. And Destiny at 1.7 million units. Or above that. Japan, Asia has the top 3 being Tales of Destiny, Tales of Fantasia, and Tales of Eternia. All selling above the 1.2 million mark. North America has the best-selling games being Tales of Symphonia, Tales of Vesperia, and Tales of Zestiria. All selling under a million, with Zestiria above, well, at 600,000. Symphonia at 940,000 units. And Europe's best-selling Tales games are Tales of Zestiria, Tales of Symphonia, and Tales of Vesperia. To which I say, listen, Europe, I have words. I have questions. First of all, why? But all jokes...
Why is what? Wait, what was...
Zestiria is the best-selling Tales game in Europe.
What's wrong with Zestiria?
Zestiria is the most boring game in the series. Has the most nonsensical plot.
Yeah, but without Zestiria, we wouldn't have Berseria.
Sure, but that doesn't make it a good game.
I don't know. I have both, and I have yet to play them. But hopefully before Arise comes out, whenever that is.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, I do not like Zestiria. It's the only game I have ever hate played. Because I thought to myself, I owe it to the series to finish this game at least. I finished it, still didn't like it. Let's see. I did see on Resetera a possible explanation as to why Zestiria might, or was it the Gamatsu comments section, as to why Zestiria was the best selling in Europe. It's probably because they had multiple language tracks, which in the name of accessibility does make it more popular by default. So yeah, there's that. But I am happy that Symphonia at least is the most popular worldwide. And
I thought Symphonia was boring. No, not boring. I just felt it was, when I tried playing it, I was like, this is dated.
When did you play it?
2013?
Yeah.
Like 2012 or 2013.
I mean, then you're going to feel that it's dated because, yeah, it is an older RPG from the GameCube era.
Yeah, maybe I'll give it another chance someday.
No,
they've played a lot more older stuff.
It doesn't exactly work like that, but if you do want to...
I'm a little more... I just mean I'm a little more open-minded now than I was back then.
I hope so. But if you're really hankering for, like, a balance of older... Well, not older. Like, you have the classic era, you have the modern era, and we're now in the postmodern era with the next generation gearing up. If you want a good balance of old versus modern, then probably Vesperia is your best bet. Okay, next up is you with the Cooking Mama drama. Are you there?
Yeah, the Cooking Mama drama. Hold on, I was just typing something. Cooking Mama's Revenge. Cooking Mama Cookstar made its PlayStation Store debut. This is by Jenny Lana for Siliconera. At the beginning of March 2021, the Cooking Mama Cookstar PS4 version surfaced again. Target pre-orders opened, and the social media accounts even began teasing its upcoming appearance. Now it turns out people can even get it digitally, as Cooking Mama Cookstar is available being the PlayStation Store for $39.99.
Is that all?
This comes following legal issues between Planet Entertainment, the game's publisher, and Office Create, who owns the IP and develops the game. In April 2020, Office Create issued a statement on the Cooking Mama Cookstar PS4 release that noted it didn't develop or license the game. It is also referred to the possible title as an unauthorized PS4 version. However, the PlayStation Store page for Cooking Mama Cookstar does mention a new publisher. Koch Media's Ravenscourt division is behind this version of the game. The fine print also mentioned that it is licensed by Office Create and showed the Planet Entertainment trademark. Do you think they...
What?
I wonder if they improved it or something?
I mean,
why would it have a different... if it's licensed by Office Create?
I mean, they were looking for another publisher slash... well, the rights issue is very complicated, so I'm guessing that's why. But I don't think they added anything or subtracted anything from the game itself. You done with the Cooking Mama drama? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Sorry.
Next up is Epileptic PSA Battle in Wonderworld. This is by Liana Rupert. Is it Rupert or Rupert? Is it?
I have no idea. I was asking that myself the same question.
I'll ask around. This is Liana Rupert or Rupert. Please correct me for Game Informer. Battle in Wonderworld arrives tomorrow from Square Enix. This was March 25th, for clarity's sake. But early footage has me incredibly worried about one vital scene. The scene in question has so many neurological triggers that even non-epileptics are at risk. My notifications lit up on Thursday night with Game Informer readers tagging me in a video where the boss fight can be seen. Following my coverage of Cyberpunk 2077, a more generalized PSA about epileptics and how to safely navigate all forms of entertainment, they were thoughtful enough to consider me and a scene that could be dangerous. What they fail to realize is that it's not just dangerous to photosensitive epileptics, it's dangerous to everyone. I'll read through it because it's kind of important. When I first began watching the scene, which you can view in the video below at 11:35 to 12:40 and 14:75 marks, but I highly advise against it or to use caution, I immediately had to shut it off. Instantly, my right side dropped, and I could feel the onset of an episode. I stepped away. I did my usual checkup on myself. I donned safer tech settings seen here, and I looked again, this time at a slower speed to negate the rapid fire effect that I know is a trigger. What I saw, I hope, is simply a pre-launch glitch, because if this scene was intended, my concern is that there were safety checks cut. I can't imagine how this possibly passed the necessary safety certification process if this were intended. The scene above is not just using flashing effects. It rapid fires a series of white on background flashes. The quick succession is instantly dangerous, and because of that, I made a PSA on social media to give a warning. Since that tweet went live, I've had numerous people reach out, including developers and other QA devs, saying that they aren't even epileptic, but they felt odd after watching. My husband, who had no prior issue with epilepsy or neurological triggers, complained of feeling dizzy before he threw up. Several others reported the same. And there's an update. The studio took to the game's Twitter to relay news of a day one patch. It says that it was a bug, but does not address the numerous instances in which this occurred and does not explain what exactly the patch tackles. We will have a new update shortly. So, it's a good thing I didn't play this, because I did have an epileptic episode when I was younger, like in grade school.
Really?
Yeah, but it was...
It's just that one time?
Yeah, it was an isolated event, so I don't think I'm in danger of
I didn't know that can happen just randomly like that.
Well, the thing is, the triggers from probably a video game were the cause of it, and my not yet fully developed brain couldn't process that much stimuli.
Do you mind saying what game it was?
I don't remember what it was, because it was like about 20 years ago or so. So
well,
I don't know what it was that set it off.
So you don't even know if you played that game again later?
No. But it is something that
that's scary.
I do try to be aware of, even when I'm consuming other media. If they are flashing light, I instantly shield myself, because I do not want to have an episode. And we talked on the podcast, I think last week, that you were going to get Monster Hunter and I'd get Battle in the Wonder World. So I'm happy I didn't stick to that plan. So we'll see how that...
So I saw it, and it was weird, because it didn't seem like the flashing lights were like supposed to be. It seemed like a weird glitch rather than like they were supposed to be there.
That's what the game's PR said in the tweet, that it was a bug.
That's what it looked like to me when I saw it.
Yeah, but as Liana's report highlights, it might be more than that, or it's not as clear as they are portraying it to be. Anyway, next up is Astria's Ascending will appear worldwide in 2021. This is by Jenny Lada for Siliconera. A new game with contributions from multiple people connected to the Final Fantasy series will appear worldwide in 2021. Artisan Studios and Dear Villagers are working on Astria's Ascending. The RPG, which is written by Kazushige Nojima, will appear on all current generation consoles and PCs this year. Astria's Ascending is set in Orkanon. I hope I said that right. And features art from Psy Designation, which has previously worked on Zodiac Arcanon Odyssey with Kobojo. Going by the art, I'm guessing it's Akihiko Yoshida who kind of influenced it, because he also works for Psy Designation and also did work on Final Fantasy Tactics 12 and 14. But I digress. That game appeared on iOS devices and had a planned PC, PS4, and Vita versions that never surfaced. 8 demigods, each with their own story, is trying to save and change the world. Kazushige Nojima, who is known for working on the scenarios for Final Fantasy VII and its spin-offs Final Fantasy VIII, 10, 10-2, 13, 15, wrote its story. Hitoshi Sakimoto, who composed soundtracks for Final Fantasy and Valkyria Chronicles games and Vanillaware games like 13 Sentinels, Aegis Rim, is its composer. Click on the article for a breakdown and some behind-the-scenes footage. Yeah, it looks kind of cool. It kind of reminds me of another Eden. It's the
cat time and space.
Yeah, it's the mobile RPG.
I downloaded that.
Well,
not the mobile. I downloaded the Steam version just because I was curious.
Is it already on Steam?
I didn't play it though. Yeah.
Okay. It's
just gone to Steam like yesterday.
Okay. It's
earlier this week. It's
by the director of Chrono Trigger, so
yeah.
Definitely something you should check out.
There's some gotcha stuff in it.
I mean, it started as a free-to-play mobile game, so...
Yeah, and it's still free.
Yeah. So there's that. Next up is Nexon invests $874 million in Bandai, Konami, and others, including Sega Sammy. This is by Andrew Kia for Siliconera. Nexon announced that it invested an approximate $874 million in toy and video game companies across Japan and, the United States. Nexon made the announcement through its securities report, where the company is required to disclose investments made. By the end of 2020, 92.4 billion yen, around 874 million, was invested in companies like Hasbro, Bandai Namco Holdings, Konami Holdings, and Sega Sammy Holdings. Shout out to Gamer. You can click on the article for extra details. So there's that. I mean, how much money does Nexon have? Really? Nexon and Tencent scare me.
Yeah, why are they investing in...
It's business? I mean, they're
just a business
toy...
I thought it was just an interesting story. I don't know
Bandai, Konami,
what it means
Sega
for
Sammy,
anything specifically.
they have their hands in video games, in toy companies, in pachinko slots, other ventures, so...
It's not like... At least this wasn't misconstrued as like... I mean, it wasn't that big of a story, so it's good it wasn't misconstrued. I was like, oh my god, Nexon is going to buy these companies. It's like, no.
It's just a cash injection or slash investment.
Yeah. I just don't see Nexon in the news a lot, so I was like, oh, that's interesting. Been a long time since I played MapleStory.
Okay.
And I just didn't know they had that much money. Next story. Monster Hunter Rise shipments and digital sales top 4 million already. This is by Sal Romano for Gamatsu. Total shipments and digital sales for Monster Hunter Rise have surpassed 4 million units worldwide, Capcom announced. Monster Hunter Rise launched for Switch on March 26 worldwide. A PC version is planned for release in early 2022. In comparison, Monster Hunter World shipped 5 million units in the same amount of time. At launch, Monster Hunter World was available for PS4 worldwide and for Xbox One in North America and Europe. And then there's an overview of Rise. So yeah, that was fast. Probably a lot of pre-orders.
That, and it was a highly anticipated entry in the Monster Hunter franchise. People have been clamoring.
And there was even the Japanese company who gave them a day off.
There's also that, and it's a mobile Monster Hunter, so it stands to reason that all led to its massive success. Okay, yeah, next up is still you. You still there?
Okay. Yeah. Again, Tokyo Game Show will be an online-only event again in 2021. Set to run from September 30th to October 3rd. This is once again from Sal Romano at Komatsu. Tokyo Game Show 2021, which was previously announced to be held in person at the Makuhari Mess in Chiba, Japan, will instead be held as an online-only event. Organizer, Computer Entertainment Suppliers Association, and co-organizers Nikkei, BP, and Dentsu announced Tokyo Game Show 2021 online will run from September 30th to October 3rd. The theme of Tokyo Game Show 2021 online is We'll Always Have Games. The event will celebrate its 25th anniversary this year. The first Tokyo Game Show was held in 1996. Tokyo Game Show 2021 Online will be the second online-only version of the event following Tokyo Game Show 2020 Online, but promises further evolution. Based on user feedback from 2020, organizers plan to roll out e-commerce, business matching, and even playable demos. Additionally, a physical venue will be prepared for members of the press and influencers to go hands-on with new titles and interview developers. An online tour that allows the general public to experience a simulation of the venue is also planned. That's cool. Official programs will be distributed by organizers and exhibitors via YouTube, Twitter, Nico Nico, Twitch, Facebook, Douyin, Douyu, Bilibili, and other leading live stream platforms in Japan and overseas, and will be available worldwide in Japan, North America, Europe, and China. A live English translation is also planned for all programs. I did not expect that.
Okay.
That's really cool. Also, it's nice that it's nice that it's online and also English subtitle or English translated, so more people can access it. I just wish I could actually go to Tokyo Game Show physically one day.
Fingers crossed.
I just want to go back to Japan in general. Next is Shadowverse, a card game I don't play yet, but I might start. Shadowverse Champions Battle coming west this summer. First launched in November 2020 in Japan. This is by Sarumoto for Gamatsu once again. XE Games and Marvelous Europe will release Psy Games developed card battle RPG Shadowverse Champions Battle for Switch in North America and Europe this summer, the publishers announced. Shadowverse Champions Battle first launched for Switch in November 2020 in Japan. There's an overview of the game, but it's really long. So I'll just see based on the anime adaptation of Cygames' hit strategic multiplayer mobile and PC card battle game Shadowverse, Shadowverse Champions Battle brings the deep deck building mechanics to a new platform and delivers them with a fresh narrative experience for both new and experienced players. The game will be available digitally and at retail, and all versions will come with a special promo code granting 2 alternate art cards, 3 cards each, 10 Sears globes, and cosmetic items redeemable in the mobile or PC version of Shadowverse. It's a reimagined version of the strategic multiplayer mobile. Oh, wait. As players progress through the game, they can build more powerful decks. The game can be experienced solo, or players can head online for multiplayer matches to test complex new strategies against each other. It'll also feature a battle pass system with cosmetic leader skin rewards, oh no, and other in-game bonuses unlockable by completing missions such as winning online matches. The Switch release also adds deluxe battle animations for a more immersive experience. You take a role of a transfer student at Tensei Academy, where they are quickly introduced to the Shadowverse card game by their classmate, Hiro Ryugazaki. The new friends team up with Shadowverse Club president and only member, Urei, on a quest to master the popular card battle game and restore the club to its former glory by winning the national championship. This sounds like Inazuma 11, but with a card game.
Possibly.
Cool. I might try it out. There's a trailer too. I'm gonna check that out.
Okay.
Later. Yeah, I might try this out. I've never seen Shadowverse besides some of the ads on YouTube videos.
It's on Crunchyroll, so you could easily view
Why not? Yeah, that too.
Okay, next up is Final Fantasy XIV Digital Fan Fest to include live performances. This is by Kazuma Hashimoto for Siliconera. Final Fantasy XIV Digital Fan Fest 2021 website was updated to include more information regarding the events that will be held during the 2-day event. This includes development panels, a letter from the producer live, and 2 live performances. Additionally, digital activities will be available for the audience to participate in through Final Fantasy XIV. Final Fantasy XIV Digital Fan Fest will cover 2 days with developer information and live performances spread out evenly between the two. As it stands, only the days on which events will take place have been revealed. Specific times have not yet been announced. So yeah, look forward to that. Please be excited. Next up is you.
Yeah. Backwards compatibility reaches the clouds for Xbox Game Pass Ultimate members. This is just from the Xbox Wire by Will Tuttle. There's a there's a bunch of stuff here, but basically Xbox Game Pass Ultimate members can now tap into a collection of favorites from the past in a whole new way, right on mobile devices, turning them into retro handheld game systems. 16 original Xbox and Xbox 360 games are now available on Android phones and tablets, with more games coming soon. So none of these are... Oh, well, I guess one... I was going to say none of these are Japanese games, but that's not true. Double Dragon... Wait. Is Neon? I don't know who developed Double Dragon Neon.
It's not...
Way Forward. So that's...
That's not a Japanese company.
No, but
it's a Japanese property, so there's that.
Yeah, it is a Japanese property, and they have helped with some Japan developed games, if I'm not mistaken. But that's cool. You could play, maybe in the future, you can play, Blinks the Time Sweeper on your phone. And Blue Dragon.
Okay.
It's just cool how they're just going all in with, like, backwards compatibility on almost all their platforms.
Yeah.
Not PC.
I mean,
you can't play... not in the way that, like, you can't play Xbox 360 games
it's a bit
on
it's
PC
a bit trickier.
in the official capacity.
It's a bit trickier.
Yeah. Maybe someday, though.
Fingers crossed.
Next, and I'm excited for this one, Earth Defense Force World Brothers launches May 27th in the West for PS4, Switch, and PC. That's like 4 days before my birthday. PC version added for Western release. This is by Sal Romano Akamatsu once again. Third-person voxel-style shooter Earth Defense Force World Brothers will launch digitally for PS4, Switch, and PC via Steam on May 27th in North America, Europe, and Asia. Publisher D3 Publisher and developer Yuke's announced. There's an overview of the game. I've talked about it before in the past. There's a new trailer. It's a more family-friendly EDF. And it has co-op, and it looks kind of Minecraft-y. But it's also an homage to the series as well, because it has a bunch of characters from past games.
So kind of like an All-Stars.
Yeah, and the nice thing is, because of the like cuter voxel style, if you're afraid of giant bugs, these things look like Legos, so they're not quite as threatening.
Well, you can still have arachnophobia even if it's a toy.
No, that's true. That's true. But like I would guess it's a little easier to handle for some. It depends.
Let's hope so. Okay. Next up is Masami Yamamoto establishes new studio Epic Grasm. This is by Sal Romano for Gamatsu. Masami Yamamoto, a former employee of Sony Interactive Entertainment Japan Studio, has announced the establishment of Epic Grasm. The quote starts with, "I apologize if this sounds like an April Fool's joke, but on March 31st, I established the company Epic Grasm," Yamamoto said in a tweet. "I've had the privilege of living through the things I love, so from now on, I would like to live with the people I love as a driving principle. I'll continue to do my best in all areas, including game production." Yamamoto was an external production director and executive producer at Sony Interactive Entertainment Japan Studio, and has worked on titles such as the No Heroes Allowed series, Tokyo Jungle, Rain, Bloodborne, Soul Sacrifice, Freedom Wars, and more. So yeah, that's good. Hopefully, some more weird goodness, or like not weird, more like unique goodness. Next up, all you.
Yeah. Platinum Games announces Shoot 'em Up Soul Cresta for PS4, Switch, and PC. This is once again by Sal Romano for Gamatsu, the first entry in its Neo Classic arcade series. Platinum Games, in partnership with Hamster. It's not like Hamster Incorporated, it's just Hamster. Or like Hamster Company or Hamster something.
I mean, you had Cavia.
LTD. It's just Hamster. All right. Has announced Soul Cresta, a new title that has in partnership with a hamster. No. In partnership with Hamster, has announced Soul Cresta, a new title that inherits the spirit of classic shoot 'em up games Moon Cresta and Terra Cresta, and the first entry in its Neo-Classic arcade series. It will be available for PlayStation 4, Switch, and PC via Steam. Soul Cresta was first teased as an April Fool's Day joke in 2020, but now appears to be a real game. The Japanese announcement trailer ends with the text, "now in development." Some people were kind of mad about this because Platinum keeps announcing new games and there's no Bayonetta 3 updates. But I'm like, this is a smaller game and probably a separate team.
It'll be there when it'll be there, so don't stress too much about Bayonetta 3. We still have
funny that
we still have plenty of other things to play.
There's the it's funny that this is one of those. Oh, it was an April Fool's Day joke the year before, but it's actually a real game, kind of like how Yakuza 7. Oh, I was hoping for a Yakuza 8 tease today, but oh well. All right. So, because this week, Godzilla vs. Kong came out, we've played Monster Hunter Rise. I thought our main topic, which we'll probably only talk about for a little bit, would be our favorite monster designs in video games. And we're not we don't have any specific criteria. Just talking about things and why we like them. That is specific.
I have some specific criteria for what I consider to be a monster, but that's just it.
Yeah, strangely, Pokemon don't count as monsters for Jason, even though they're pocket monsters.
Like I said before the podcast, they may have the literal name monsters in the title, but when I think of monsters, I think of the more traditional Universal Pictures monsters, so like Frankenstein, the werewolf, or Dracula.
Yes, but we're talking about Japanese monsters. Should I have specified that?
No, I mean
Japanese monsters are different than
even still. That's the prism from which I view monsters. It
just doesn't make sense to me.
I mean, that's up to you, man.
Frankenstein was, like I said before, Frankenstein was a kaiju that one time. Okay, so starting with some of my favorite Monster Hunter stuff, and if you can add some of yours if you want to do that too. I noticed you did not put any of those. Gammoth is one of my absolute favorites. It's a big mammoth with a rock face.
Okay.
And it's from Generations and Generations Ultimate. And I don't know if it's in Rise or if it will be in Rise later, but I'm hoping it is, because I really like the armor design and the cool hammer you get from it. I also just like elephants a lot. Stygian Zinogre, which is like the Zinogre, but it's, instead of being blue and yellow, it's black and red, and that just looks cool. I like Zinogre too, but Stygian I like a little cooler because it's dragon element, it's black and red. It's like so in Monster Hunter Stories, I had on my team for a while, I had a Zinogre and a Stygian Zinogre, and they were named Zatch and Xeno, as a Zatch Bell reference to the Zatch and his twin brother.
Oh, that's cute.
That's not the word I'd use for it, but yeah, sure. And then there's the Kechawacha. I don't know if I like the design, but it's just so weird. So, you've seen Bishaten, right? Have you seen what a Kechawacha looks like?
No, I don't know. Let's look it up.
So, I got it. I'll send you.
Okay, so why is it one of your favorite designs then? If
it's not, I don't know if it is.
But you put it on your list.
It's a really weird design that I wanted to highlight while I was talking about Monster Hunter. So Bishaten is like a non-weird version of Kechawacha. This is Kechawacha.
Okay. Let's see.
It's a weird...
That's an interesting...
flying squirrel bat thing with a little trunk and...
It looks more like a marsupial thing.
Yeah, it's a very weird Monster Hunter design. There's also the... and then one of my... it's one that just always stands out to me. I'm not sure if I like it because it's weird, or if I don't like it.
I mean, you're breaking your own rules now.
Whatever. You're the one who said the monsters Pokemon aren't monsters.
No. I clearly defined what I consider a monster.
Whoa, why is... I also like Zamtrios. That's one of my favorite monsters. That dates back to when I played 4 Ultimate, because it reminds me of like a big like an evolved form of Sharpedo, an ice. And it also makes really cool armor.
Okay. I think I've seen like its baby cousin in Rise.
Xamites.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing it's in Rise somewhere in the ice area.
Or it could be DLC for eventual.
Or it could be they could always add it later. What's trying to unhighlight this. Then moving on to Pokemon, we have my favorite ever, Typhlosion. He's my favorite starter because he's a fire honey badger. And kind of like a bear too, but not really.
I see the honey badger one, but the bear is kind of.
Some people say it's a little bear-like, but I don't see it. The original starter for the gold, silver, and crystal, which they scrapped, Hanaguma, is actually a bear.
Okay.
And I like it and its evolution, but I don't like its third. I forgot what the second one, the name fans gave it, but I know the last one is called Dynabear, and I don't really like how Dynabear looks. So if Hanaguma ever came back, I would keep it that way. Put an Everstone on it. Then there's Nidoking and Tyranitar, and if the reason isn't obvious, it's because they are some of the most obviously based on Kaiju from the first and second. Well, Tyranitar was made a lot earlier than. But they're both like Nidoking literally looks like Baragon from Godzilla. Like if you look at a picture of them side by side, you'll be like, oh yeah, that's Nidoking.
So is there anything like a theme
also
or
it's purple.
Something that ties it all together for you to make you say, oh, this is my favorite monster design? What strikes you as something that's memorable?
Purple.
That's an explanation.
No, I'm just thinking because I have both Nidoking and Haunter on here. But no, I don't know. It's just it's like design that catches my eye. I'm like, oh, like that's neat, or like that's cool. Or when Nidoking and Tyranitar was more looking into the background for that article I made about the Kaiju influence in Pokemon a while back. So those two were more recent, but like Typhlosion and Haunter, I've liked. Like Haunter was probably my favorite Generation 1 Pokemon ever since the anime episode with him. And I've used a Haunter on my team ever since.
Okay.
And like Gengar's cool too, but I like Haunter a lot better.
Yeah. Silhouette wise, I prefer Haunter too.
Haunter also has a better shiny form. Donphan, really like Donphan because it was introduced so early in like Pokemon the first movie, and I was like, what is that? And nobody knew what that was until Gold and Silver and Crystal came out.
Yeah.
At least nobody in my circle knew what that was. So everybody's like, is that like a weird Rhyhorn evolution or something?
I mean, the anime in its early days had a good track record of peppering in like new designs you've never seen before the games came out. Or maybe for us Westerners.
In the first episode. Yeah. Or I remember watching an episode which was like the games had Ruby and Sapphire had already come out, but because the Johto, because you know how long it took to do dubs back then sometimes, and the Johto series was still going, there was like an episode of Johto with Kecleon in it, and I was like, what the heck? Like they're not even supposed to like at the time I was a little kid, so I didn't kind of realize that I didn't know the stuff about like dubs and subs and all that and the process. So I was like, oh, they're still in Johto, but they have Kecleon in this episode. That's interesting.
I mean, as the series progressed, it's kind of opened up a bit more, and you kind of have a sense that every region has its own living, breathing ecosystem and its own batch of
These,
Mhm.
well, they weren't wild.
Mhm.
They were the Kecleon belonged to trainers, I think. But
Mhm.
yeah, I get what you're saying. Oh, and of course Don Fan, like I said,
Mhm.
Mammo Swine because, I mean Mammoth. I was waiting for like a Mammoth Pokemon for a long time.
Mhm.
I don't like. What's the new one?
Which new one?
The like ceramic elephant.
Ceramic elephant. That's
It's from Sword and Shield.
let's see.
I forgot his name.
Pokemon Shield elephant. Do you mean Qfant?
No, the evolved form.
The evolve.
Caparajah.
Yeah.
Qfant's okay. I like Qfant a lot more.
Okay.
Caparajah, I don't like how it's kind of square.
They can't all be winners.
I don't hate it or anything. It's still an elephant, and I like elephants. I also like the elephant, the unused elephant Pokemon that does not have a name. Looks like this. I don't know if it is just. I think its name might just be called. It might just be called elephant.
Well, what Erroll just sent me is kind of a cross between what looks to be an elephant, a mouse, and Nidorino.
Yeah, a Nidorina, like the color palette
Yeah.
is kind of similar.
Yeah.
The art by
that's an odd looking thing.
it's art by Rachel Briggs, Racy Beep, who also drew our mascots. Also, it may be the Indian elephant reference in Raichu's original Pokédex entry. Might be this thing.
Okay.
And then, of course, I got some yokai. I have the Yokaiju, which is like a three-headed, not Ghidorah, not really Godzilla. It's kind of like a three-headed Godzilla-like monster. We have Noko, which is just an orange snake, a happy orange little snake guy who's very hard to find. Nekomata, who's a black and white cat who's featured in Yokai Watch 4.
And is
who reminds me
inspiration
of
for
my
your
cat.
mascot.
Yeah, inspiration for my mascot, Sunika. Basil from EDF Iron Rain, which is like a cross between Godzilla and a... What's the fish with the... I was going to say Relicanth, but the fish that Relicanth is based on.
I have no idea. So I couldn't tell you if
Like
even if I wanted
like
to.
the prehistoric fish with like the outer skulls.
The Prius.
You know what I'm talking about?
Not really. I mean,
Like
do you mean the fish we find at the bottom of the ocean, like the deep?
no, they're prehistoric.
I have no idea, man.
I'll send you a picture of the actual
Okay.
thing, of the actual monster. So this thing.
Okay. What Erroll just sent me is something I describe as Godzilla's ugly cousin.
They look a little better in motion in the games.
I don't know, man. Yeah.
Godzilla's ugly cousin, isn't that just Shin Godzilla?
I mean, both aren't lookers, so
Yeah.
yeah.
And then going with EDF, there's also Raznid, which looks like something from Pacific Rim almost to me.
Okay. Now what Erroll just sent me is kind of like an even uglier Godzilla cousin.
Hey, no, stop calling them ugly.
I mean, it's I would not pet this one.
Well, of course you wouldn't. I wouldn't pet either of these things. They'd be trying to step on you or eat you. They're huge.
Yeah.
The only kaiju anybody should be petting is Manila.
I mean,
From,
I'd pet Kong.
Manila or Little Godzilla. Not Godzuki though. We don't talk about him.
I have no idea what that means, but I'll take your word for it.
So you know how, in the 80s every character had like a little nephew or whatever. Yeah, Godzuki is basically that from the 1980s Godzilla cartoon.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if it is supposed to be his nephew or his son. I've never seen the 1980s cartoon because he's like the Scrappy Doo of Godzilla.
Okay, what Errol just sent me, it looks like a Hanna-Barbera version of Godzilla.
I mean, I think that what the series was made by Hanna-Barbera.
I mean,
I'm not sure though.
it does not look
Yeah, it was
threatening at all.
Hanna-Barbera. It doesn't look threatening. Yeah. Not supposed to. And then we have this one you'll be familiar with, the weapon enemies from Final Fantasy VII.
Mm-hmm.
Those are great. Very Kaiju inspired.
Okay. So that's your list?
Ultimate weapon looks a lot like Destroya from Godzilla.
I'm sensing a pattern here.
Well, that's something I noticed more recently. Then we have Kirpymon or Cherubimon from Digimon, the Draki, which are the little bats from Dragon Quest. Cherubimon Vice Mode specifically.
Okay.
Omnimon. I'll spare you the Monster Rancher stuff because that gets complicated. And then we have Vort of the Boreal Valley, which kind of reminds me of like a Monster Hunter type thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a boss from Dark Souls 3, the second or third boss, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty easy one too. And the one Reborn from Bloodborne, which is a big skeleton thing.
Definitely a looker.
Yeah. It's not even that the skeleton part is big. It's the part under it, the weird fleshy mass. And the skeleton's just on top. You seem to have a lot of Final Fantasy ones.
I mean, when you pitched the topic being favorite monsters from games, I kind of struggled with, okay, what am I going to pick? And I mean, I don't often sit and think about monsters in games. Like even Monster Hunter.
It's a good thing to think about with enemy designs, I think, and stuff like that.
When it comes to enemy design or character design, I look at what the artist is trying to communicate, and what the origins of those ideas are, versus it is a monster. Like when we talk about Monster Hunter monsters, I don't even view them as monsters. I think of them as animals that you're hunting. So, but
it's called Monster Hunt.
As I said, I don't view them as monsters. Especially not.
If you want to play Animal Hunter, you got to play one of those Cabela games.
Sure, but it sounds catchier saying Monster Hunter instead of Animal Hunter.
Well, yeah, because they're monsters. They don't actually exist.
No,
they're all amalgamations of pre-existing.
I know they do not
things.
exist, but as I've stated at the beginning of the main topic, the way I define monsters would not apply to this.
You just confuse me, sir.
I do not confuse you. I literally state the fundamentals of my argument.
No. It's just confusing to me as somebody who sees monsters as like, not that.
You just group everything under the umbrella term monster, it seems.
Not everything. Animals aren't monsters.
I mean, video game animals, you seem to consider monsters.
If they don't exist, yeah.
I mean, even then, I'd still adhere.
I'm not going to say like...
Mm-hmm.
Look, I'm not going to say that I don't have a good example. But look, if there was like just a giant cat in a video game,
mm-hmm.
and that's all it was, it would be considered a kaiju, but I don't know if I'd consider it like a monster per se. I don't know. I thought it would be a fun topic for Monster Hunter Rise and Godzilla vs. Kong.
I mean, it is a fun topic.
I didn't know you'd struggle with it.
I'm not struggling with it. I like I said, I have defined it. I am now defending my opinions. I don't have any problems not finding any fun in it or finding fun in this.
Okay, go on.
Yeah? Are you good?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure.
Fine.
Okay.
I don't even know what's happening anymore.
I mean, as I've discussed and as I've defined, when I think of monsters, I think of the classical view of monsters from movies, from books, from stories we've all told, like things we fear, things we kind of, well, if you bring in psychology a bit, it's like the thing we keep inside or underneath.
So, would the Cyclops from the Odyssey count? Something like that?
Sure.
I don't know. You said books, and that's what I thought. Well, that thing is huge, and that.
So you want you want me to call them a kaiju?
No, because we're not. We're not. That's not the argument I'm trying to make right now. That's a different. That's for a different day. We're defining monster. If we were defining kaiju, oh boy, that would be a whole thing.
I mean,
I would need another person. We would need like 2 other people on the podcast for that. And
I'm not so sure about that. I mean, we could do fine by ourselves. Like, I
don't know.
A kaiju can be a monster or could not be a monster. It depends on.
Yeah,
I think
it's a strange beast.
The intent of the creature, like if
because
I typically see monster as something as villainous, more or less, or more than not villainous.
Yeah. See, I can't agree with that, but that's okay. That's okay.
You don't have to agree with it.
I don't have to. No, I know. I'm just saying. What dark? Wait, what's the dark side you listed here? Dark side from what? Not
from Kingdom Hearts.
Oh, I should have known that.
Okay, so when I look at monsters, like I said, I typically go for the psychology of things, of what a monster can mean for the protagonist, like what kind of thing, obstacle is he or she trying to overcome, or what are they trying to overcome?
The monster inside.
Yeah, and sometimes it's the monster inside. But for a bit more, let's say, commonplace monsters, I have here a list of Final Fantasy and I want to say Bloodborne monsters. I have Ifrit, who is a perennial favorite summon, and that's
one of my favorite summons too. I didn't add him to the list, but
it's
I wasn't thinking of summons.
It's kind of like this. I want to say half lion, half man. Well, not even lion. I mean, it has horns. It's kind of like the classical view you have of the devil, and it's a very interesting design, and it's probably the most striking to me in Final Fantasy 15, where he is more or less a fallen angel that sits upon a throne, which is a very cool visual. And yeah, that's because to me it also harkens back to my upbringing as a Christian, and all that imagery from religion that kind of comes into play in Final Fantasy 15. I really like that. I also have Darkside because it's like this giant blob, that threatening, not threatening, like muscular thing that is just looming over you, and you just, when you're in the game and you're looking at it, you kind of think to yourself, how am I ever going to tackle this? How am I ever going to overcome it? And that's kind of the point of the dark side. And it's just one of the more memorable bosses, I think, in Kingdom Hearts.
That's for sure.
Next up, I have Anima, who is just the weirdest design ever for a summon, I'd say.
Pretty interesting, yeah.
Kind of like if someone went to the wrong goth convention.
What a description.
Yeah. Like, I can't even explain to you what Anima is. That's I'm
looking at it right now.
That's how weird and threatening it is.
Did This looks like a Persona.
I mean,
That's what it looks
probably.
like to me. At least from this art.
And it also ties into the whole psychology bit of anima being a Jungian concept and all that. So that also resonates with me. And as always, the Bloodborne favorites, Amygdala, who's just this weird Cthulhu Kaiju-esque thing you have to contend with. And I forgot one from Bloodborne. The little blue men. Oh,
the little blue aliens.
The Blue Man Group. Yeah.
They're kind of cute from far away, and then they all start attacking you.
Then they stop being
like,
cute.
oh.
So Amygdala.
They're kind of like the blue aliens from Galaxy Quest,
more or less. But the point I'm trying to make with Amygdala and Vicar Amelia Rom is that it's something that is more design than the difficulty of the game itself. Yeah. Because when I played Sekiro, I wasn't feeling as threatened by the bosses as I was in Bloodborne. In Bloodborne, it's like, what the heck is that? How do I even comprehend its existence? How do I even make sense of it? And that increases the fear you feel when you're facing off against that boss. So that's a very special. Yeah, for sure. That's a very special thing to have in the design. And maybe I wonder if you'd like. You said Sekiro, the designs didn't really give you that feeling. I wonder if Neo 2 would be a little better for that. Neo 2 definitely has that. You have the yokai you fight against, and some of the bosses are very threatening and very scary. I haven't really played much past like the first two sections of Neo. Well, you're further than me. So I can't really comment on of Neo 1. Yeah. So I can't really comment on that. But yeah, the monster design in Neo is very cool. It's especially the bigger monsters, because they seem tough, but with the right dedication and skill, you can overcome them. So that's cool. I forgot one of my favorites is a weird looking cat from Neo 2, the Scampus. I just forgot the name. Is that the one big, in the weird looking cat in the forest with the lightning and thunder? It's a big calico cat. It's not a boss. Oh, okay. No, then I'm thinking of another one. It's one of your yokai spirits. No. And I also have a deep cut from Tales of Symphonia, Clara Dor. I don't know if many of you remember that, but spoilers for the story. She was a woman that tragically got turned into a monster, and throughout the game, you kind of search for her, because you made a promise to her daughter to bring the mother back to normal, that is. And it kind of became the white whale for me in the game, because I was playing it with a guide, seeing if I could save the mother, and I could never figure out how to do it. So I just left it for what it is, and that just makes it extra tragic, like a promise unfulfilled, a monster that's kind of partly your doing, its creation, that is. That makes it just a tragic figure. And one of the bosses I recently fought against in Final Fantasy XIV, Ravana, has such a cool design. It's kind of this, I want to say, Southeast Asian-esque soldier with multiple arms, and it's just so cool to see, and super threatening. And when you first square off against Ravana, you think I'll never beat this, but it's just such a cool and fascinating fight. And when it comes to monsters, really, I kind of hew closer to the Guillermo del Toro school of thought, that a monster is just a being that's trying to live, so it wouldn't have threatening features built into its cosmetics, but it would appear almost normal, docile, but up close or when threatened, then you'd see the the scary side of a creature.
That that doesn't work for one of his movies.
Which one?
That doesn't really exactly work for Pacific Rim because the kaiju are never really docile.
No, but they are like based off of actual creatures. So they're
Well, yeah, all kaiju are, or most kaiju are.
So it's not. When you look at the kaiju in Pacific Rim, you see them as a threat, but in the grand scheme of things, they are like organisms that are trying to survive on their own terms.
And they're being controlled by another thing too.
There is that. So it's not that they're per se evil, but for the purpose of the story, you can perceive them as evil. So
they're just forces of nature, essentially, kind of like how Godzilla is.
Exactly. So
at times
that's how I usually view my monsters, like forces of nature. Like I don't need to have them be a threat or evil per se.
All right, so certain legendary Pokemon.
No, not even that. Like, Pokemon is so benign, so calming, so relaxing that I couldn't even consider them being monsters.
I don't know, man. Have you seen Giratina and Necrozma?
I mean, if they had any realistic designs that looked like something from, I don't know, Sekiro or Neo, then I'd be scared. But as they are, I'm pretty fine with them. So yeah, that's kind of my list of monsters.
I didn't know this topic would be such a debate for us.
I mean, we all come from our own
funny,
biases and our own experiences.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Hmm.
I'm not really into horror movies, but the old Universal monsters are like, because of the fact that they're like, they're old, they're not, I don't find them quite as disturbing as like modern horror stuff. I think I'd be able to watch them pretty easily.
I mean, sure.
I don't know. I don't have a lot of experience with. I'm just not a horror film person in general.
I mean, there are certainly
maybe a few exceptions.
There are certainly some good modern titles that would scare your socks off, but maybe ease your way into them.
I did not. Yeah, because Hereditary was not a great idea.
Well, Hereditary is more psychological than straight horror, I would say.
Very disturbing.
Yeah, Ari Aster horror movies are more disturbing than anything else. Not scary, but disturbing.
Speaking of horror movies, I need to watch Shin Godzilla at some point. Anyway.
No.
I think that's going to be it for this week. Sorry we didn't have a guest this week. Just been focusing on Monster Week content. Hopefully we'll have somebody next week, and if we don't, we'll definitely have somebody the week after that. But anyways, this has been me. This has been Jason. I said the thing he usually says.
Yeah. Thank you for listening. Stay safe out there. Have fun. Be kind to each other. And
keep wearing your masks. Keep washing your hands. Keep social distancing. Get a vaccine if you're able to.
And if
you have the ability.
And if it's considered safe for you and your medical history.
Yes, that too.
Have a good Easter weekend.
Oh, right. And also watch, if you have HBO Max, watch Godzilla vs. Kong, because it's only going to be up for 30 days. And I believe it doesn't come out on... I know there's a disc that's releasing... There's a Blu-ray Steelbook version releasing on June 14th. So I don't know if that's when all the home releases come out or not, but you can watch it through most of the month of April. So make sure to get on that if you're interested.
Yes. Okay. Then we'll be seeing you next week. Bye all.
Yeah. Matane.